The massive alien ship moved slowly through space toward Earth. Commander Zethrix stood on the bridge and watched the blue planet grow larger on the screen. His purple skin showed the calm patterns that meant he felt relaxed. This was just another routine first contact mission for the Galactic Council. His species had done this hundreds of times before with new civilizations. Zethrix looked at the datapad in his four-fingered hands. The information about humans seemed normal. They were a young species that had just learned to travel between planets. Their world was classified as dangerous because of its gravity and weather, but the beings themselves appeared weak and soft. Most Death World species were much stronger than the humans seemed to be. The communications officer, a tall gray alien named Vex, turned toward Zethrix with his large black eyes reflecting the bridge lights. Vex spoke in the clicking language of his people, but the translator made his words clear to everyone on the bridge. "Commander, we are receiving a transmission from the human defense vessel. They are welcoming us and offering to escort us to their space station for meetings." Zethrix nodded his elongated head. This was going exactly as planned. Most new species were either too afraid to respond or too aggressive when first contacted. The humans seemed friendly and reasonable. He had read that they were curious by nature, which usually made first contact much easier. Accept their offer and follow their ship to the meeting location, Zethrix ordered. The human vessel that approached them was much smaller than their own ship, but it moved with surprising grace. Zethrix could see it was armed, but the weapons were primitive compared to Galactic Council technology. The humans were clearly not a threat to anyone in the galaxy. Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the Earth Defense Ship Liberty and watched the alien vessel through the main viewing window. It was the most beautiful thing he had ever seen. The ship looked like it was made of silver and crystal, with elegant curves that seemed to flow like water. No human technology could create something so perfect. Jake ran his hand through his brown hair and adjusted his uniform jacket. He was nervous but excited. This was the moment that would change human history forever. His crew had trained for years for this possibility, but now that it was happening, he felt unprepared. Communications, send them our standard greeting package, and guide them to Station Alpha. Make sure they know we're honored by their visit, Jake said to Lieutenant Sam Martinez at the communications console. The alien ship followed them without any problems. Jake could see other human ships in the area keeping a respectful distance. The whole fleet wanted to see the visitors, but they all understood the importance of making a good first impression. Station Alpha was humanity's newest and most impressive space facility. It had been designed to handle meetings with alien species, with adjustable atmosphere controls and flexible meeting rooms. Jake hoped it would be adequate for their guests. The docking procedure took longer than usual because the alien ship was so much larger than anything the station was designed for. Jake watched through the station windows as the beautiful vessel connected to the docking bay. His heart was beating fast with anticipation. Ambassador Lisa Grant waited in the main conference room with her diplomatic team. She had spent months preparing for this moment, studying every piece of information they had about potential alien contact. Her hands were steady as she reviewed her notes one final time. She wore her best formal suit and had arranged for the finest Earth foods and drinks to be available. The airlock doors opened with a soft hiss, and the aliens entered. Jake was surprised by how different they all looked from each other. He had expected them to be from one species, but there were clearly several different types of beings in the group. Commander Zethrix was tall and thin with purple skin that seemed to shimmer slightly. His eyes were larger than human eyes and had golden pupils. Behind him came Vex, who was gray and even taller, with a smooth head and those large black eyes. A third alien was shorter and appeared to be covered in what looked like living crystal formations. "Welcome to humanity and our home system," Lisa said with a warm smile. "We are honored to meet you and grateful that you have come so far to visit." U.S. Zethrix bowed slightly in what his people considered a formal greeting. His translator device made soft beeping sounds as it processed the human language. "The honor is ours, Ambassador Grant. I am Commander Zethrix of the Altarian Defense Fleet, representing the Galactic Council. We have come to invite your species to join our community of civilized worlds." The words sent excitement through every human in the room. Jake felt his chest swell with pride. Humanity was being invited to join something vast and wonderful. The meeting continued with formal exchanges of gifts and information. The aliens presented a data crystal that contained basic information about the Galactic Council and some of the member species. The humans gave them samples of Earth art, music, and literature stored on their most advanced computer systems. Everything was going perfectly until the accident happened. Zethrix was explaining the structure of the Galactic Council when he reached for his personal data tablet to show some images. The device was made of processed metals from his home world and was quite heavy by alien standards. As he lifted it, the tablet slipped from his 4 fingers and fell toward the table where Ambassador Grant was sitting. Jake saw the heavy object falling toward Lisa and reacted without thinking. He stepped forward quickly and caught the tablet in his right hand just before it would have hit her. The metal felt cold and surprisingly heavy, but he gripped it firmly to make sure it would not fall again. "Here you go," Jake said with a smile, holding the tablet out to return it to Zethrix. But something was wrong. The aliens were all staring at Jake with expressions he could not read. Zethrix was making soft clicking sounds that the translator did not process. The crystalline alien had changed colors to a deep blue that seemed to pulse with some kind of energy. Jake looked down at the tablet in his hand and realized what had happened. His fingers had pressed into the metal surface, leaving clear handprint impressions. The edges where his thumb and fingers had gripped were cracked and bent. He had accidentally crushed their device while trying to help. "Oh no, I am so sorry," Jake said, feeling embarrassed. "I must have grabbed it too hard. I hope it still works." He handed the damaged tablet back to Zethrix, who took it with hands that seemed to be shaking slightly. The alien commander looked at the crushed metal and then at Jake with those large golden eyes. "You caught this with your bare hand?" Zethrix asked quietly. "Well, yes, I did not want it to hit Ambassador Grant," Jake replied, confused by the reaction. "Is it badly damaged?" "We can probably fix it if you need us to." The aliens exchanged glances that clearly meant something significant, but Jake could not understand what. He noticed that a small piece of the broken metal had cut his palm when he caught the tablet. A thin line of red blood was visible on his. SKI Dr. Ryan Phillips, the human medical officer, immediately stepped forward with a small first aid kit. "Let me take a look at that cut, Captain." Ryan cleaned the small wound and applied a basic bandage while the aliens watched intently. Jake barely felt the injury and was more concerned about damaging their equipment than about his own minor cut. "It is nothing serious," Ryan said. "Should heal completely within a day or 2. But the aliens were staring at Jake's hand with the same intense expressions. Zethrix made more clicking sounds, and the gray alien Vex responded in his own language. Jake could tell they were having some kind of important discussion, but the translators were not processing their private conversation. Finally, Zethrix turned back to the humans with what might have been a smile on his purple face. "Do not worry about the tablet, Captain Morrison. These devices are not as durable as we sometimes think. We are impressed by your quick reflexes in protecting your ambassador." The meeting continued, but Jake noticed that the aliens seemed different now. They were more careful about how they moved and what they touched. When they were offered human food and drinks, they accepted politely, but seemed nervous about the containers and utensils. As the formal session ended, Jake felt satisfied that first contact had gone well despite the small accident. The aliens seemed friendly and impressed by human culture and technology. He was looking forward to learning more about the galaxy and humanity's place in it, but he did not see the urgent messages that Commander Zethrix was sending to the Galactic Council, or the concerned discussions happening among the alien crew members. Jake could not know that the simple act of catching a falling object had just changed how the entire galaxy would view humanity forever. 3 weeks had passed since the first meeting with the aliens, and the relationship between humans and the Galactic Council had grown stronger each day. Commander Zethrix had remained at Station Alpha to continue cultural exchanges while his ship conducted detailed scans of the Sol system. The data he was collecting would help the Council understand how to properly integrate humanity into galactic civilization. Captain Jake Morrison had been impressed by how eager the aliens were to learn about human culture and history. They asked detailed questions about everything from human art to human technology. What surprised Jake most was how interested they seemed in human biology and physical capabilities. Dr. Ryan Phillips had spent hours explaining human anatomy and healing processes to the alien medical specialists. The invitation to visit Altair Prime had come as a wonderful surprise. Commander Zethrix explained that it was traditional for new species to visit a Council member world to better understand galactic society. Jake had chosen his best crew members for the historic journey. Marine Sergeant Kate Sullivan checked her equipment one final time as the alien transport ship prepared to leave Earth orbit. She had served in 3 different military branches and had never been more nervous about a mission. This was not about combat or security, but about representing all of humanity to an alien civilization. Kate was a tall woman with short blonde hair and calm blue eyes that missed nothing. Her military training had taught her to observe and adapt to any situation. She had been chosen for this mission because of her ability to remain composed under pressure and her skill at building trust with people from different cultures. Beside her, pilot Alex Turner was studying the alien ship's navigation systems with fascination. Alex was young and energetic, with dark hair and the kind of curiosity that made him an excellent pilot. He had volunteered for the mission because he wanted to learn how alien technology worked, and because he thought the experience would be the greatest adventure of his lifetime. The journey to Altair Prime took 5 days using the alien ship's faster-than-light drive system. Jake spent most of the time in meetings with Zethrix, learning about Galactic Council politics and trade regulations. Kate and Alex were given tours of the ship and allowed to observe the alien crew at work. Alex was amazed by how graceful the aliens were in their movements. Everything they did seemed effortless and smooth. Even simple tasks like opening doors or operating controls looked elegant when the aliens performed them. He tried to move with the same fluid motions, but felt clumsy in comparison. Kate noticed that the alien crew members seemed unusually careful around the humans. They would step aside in corridors and always made sure there was plenty of space when working near the human visitors. She assumed this was normal politeness, but something about their behavior seemed more like nervousness than courtesy. Altair Prime was a beautiful world of purple skies and silver cities that seemed to grow from the landscape like living crystal formations. The gravity was slightly lighter than Earth normal, which made the humans feel unusually energetic and strong. Jake commented that it felt like being a child again, with the ability to jump higher and move faster than usual. The Altarian people welcomed the human delegation with a grand ceremony in their capital city. Thousands of aliens gathered to see the new species that had joined the galactic community. Jake was impressed by the diversity of the crowd, with beings that looked like living plants, others that seemed to be made of flowing liquid, and some that appeared to be composed of pure energy contained in transparent suits. Commander Zethrix served as their guide and translator during the official events. He explained that Altair Prime was one of the oldest council worlds and that his people took great pride in their military traditions and physical achievements. The tour would include visits to their most important cultural sites, including the legendary military academy where their greatest warriors trained, the Altarian. Military Academy was a massive complex of training facilities and ceremonial grounds built into the side of a mountain. The architecture was both beautiful and practical, designed to challenge and inspire the beings who trained there. Jake could see similarities to Earth's military academies, but everything here seemed designed for beings with different physical capabilities than humans. General Kith, the Academy commander, was an elderly Altarian whose purple skin had faded to a lighter shade with age. His movements were still precise and controlled, showing the discipline of a lifetime military career. He wore decorations that indicated he was one of the most honored warriors in Altarian history. We are pleased to demonstrate our training methods for our human guests, General Kith said through his translator device. Perhaps you would like to see how our warriors develop their strength and skill. The demonstration took place in a large training hall filled with various pieces of exercise equipment. Jake watched as young Altarian cadets performed feats that would have been impressive by human standards. They lifted weights, completed obstacle courses, and sparred with weapons that hummed with energy. The highlight of the demonstration was when their strongest cadet, a young Altarian named Zorix, attempted to break the Academy lifting record. The weight was a solid block of processed metal that the aliens explained was equivalent to lifting a small vehicle on most worlds. Zorix approached the weight with ceremonial precision. His purple skin darkened with concentration as he gripped the metal handles and began to lift. The crowd of watching cadets was silent as Zorix raised the enormous weight above his head and held it there for the required time. When he set it down, the entire Academy erupted in celebration. "Magnificent," Jake said, applauding with genuine appreciation. That was truly impressive. General Kith beamed with pride at the compliment. Zorix has trained for years to achieve this level of strength. He represents the finest of our warrior tradition. Kate had been watching the demonstration with professional interest. The Altarian training methods were sophisticated and effective, but she was curious about the actual weight being lifted. On Earth, she had known soldiers who could lift much heavier objects, but she assumed the difference was due to Altair Prime's lighter gravity. "That looks like excellent training," Kate said politely. "Would it be appropriate for me to try the equipment? I would like to understand your methods better." The suggestion caused a stir among the watching aliens. "General." Kith exchanged glances with Commander Zethrix before nodding slowly. "Of course, Sergeant Sullivan. We would be honored to have you participate in our demonstration." Kate approached the weight that Zorix had lifted with some uncertainty. She had never tried to lift anything quite like it before, and she was concerned about embarrassing herself in front of the alien audience. The metal felt strange under her hands, smooth and surprisingly warm. She bent her knees and gripped the handles firmly, then straightened her legs and back in one smooth motion. The weight came up easily, much more easily than she had expected. She held it over her head without strain and looked around at the watching aliens. Every Altarian in the hall was completely silent. Even General Kith was staring at Kate with an expression she could not interpret. She realized she might have done something wrong and quickly set the weight down. "Was that not correct?" Kate asked, worried that she had violated some kind of protocol. "I apologize if I performed the lift improperly." General Kith made soft clicking sounds before responding. "No, Sergeant Sullivan, your technique was perfect. Perhaps you would like to try a more challenging weight?" The next weight was significantly larger, something that General Kith explained was normally only attempted by their most experienced warriors. Kate lifted it with the same ease as the first one. The silence from the alien audience was becoming uncomfortable. "This is quite light compared to our Earth training," Kate said, trying to be diplomatic. "Your technique is excellent, but perhaps the gravity difference makes things feel easier for me." She did not notice the urgent hand signals that Commander Zethrix was making to General Kith, or the rapid conversations happening in alien languages around the training hall. Meanwhile, Alex had wandered off to examine the Academy's architectural features. He was fascinated by how the buildings seemed to grow from the mountain itself, with walls that curved and flowed like natural rock formations. The construction was unlike anything he had ever seen on Earth. He found himself in a corridor that appeared to be under renovation. Workers were installing new wall panels that looked like they were made of the same metal as the Academy's structural supports. Alex could see that one section was not properly aligned and was creating a gap that would be visible once the work was completed. Without thinking about it, Alex placed his hands on the misaligned panel and pushed it into the correct position. The metal moved smoothly under his hands until it was perfectly flush with the surrounding wall. He stepped back to admire the result, satisfied that he had helped with the construction project. But the alien workers had stopped their activities and were staring at Alex with the same strange expressions that Kate had seen in the training hall. One of them made rapid clicking sounds while pointing at the wall panel that Alex had just moved. The emergency session of the Galactic Council convened within hours of receiving Commander Zethrix's urgent report from Altair Prime, the massive council chamber on the neutral world of Nexus, filled with representatives from hundreds of species across the galaxy. The ancient chamber had witnessed many historic decisions, but nothing quite like what was about to unfold. Council Leader Morthic stood at the central podium, his crystalline form shifting through colors that indicated deep concern. The Vorthic species had led the council for over 1,000 years because of their ability to remain logical and objective in crisis situations. But the report from Altair Prime was challenging even their legendary composure. "Fellow counselors," Morthic began, his voice resonating through the chamber's translation systems in dozens of languages. "We have received disturbing information about the species known as humans. The initial contact reports appear to have significantly underestimated their physical capabilities." The insectoid Kithara representative, Ambassador Clickrix, raised one of her 4 arms to speak. Her species was known for their analytical minds and attention to detail. "Council Leader, our preliminary scans of the human homeworld indicated they were within normal parameters for a developing civilization. What new information has changed this assessment?" Commander Zethrix stepped forward from the witness area, his purple skin showing the stress patterns that indicated extreme nervousness. He had served the council faithfully for decades, but he had never been called to testify in an emergency session before. "Honorable counselors, I must report that our initial evaluation of human physical capabilities was completely incorrect. During cultural exchanges on Altair Prime, we observed feats of strength that exceed our most powerful warrior species." A murmur of concern rippled through the assembled representatives. The Altarians were known throughout the galaxy for their military prowess and physical conditioning. If humans could surpass their abilities, the implications were staggering. The energy-based luminary representative, a being of pure light contained within a specialized environmental suit, pulsed with patterns that indicated skepticism. "Commander Zethrix, perhaps you are misinterpreting what you observed. Could these humans have been using technological enhancement or genetic modification?" Zethrix activated the holographic display system and showed recordings from the Academy demonstration. The council watched in silence as Kate Sullivan effortlessly lifted weights that would challenge their strongest beings, and as Alex Turner casually moved structural panels designed to require heavy machinery. "These appear to be baseline capabilities for their species," Zethrix explained. "They showed no signs of technological augmentation, and their medical officer confirmed that these abilities are normal for humans. The chamber fell silent as the implications became clear. A species with such casual strength could potentially devastate any world they visited, whether intentionally or by accident. The young human who had broken the Altarian cadet's arm had been trying to be gentle. Dr. Xanthus, the council's chief xenobiologist, activated her workstation to display detailed analysis of human physiology. The elderly Altarian scientist had studied hundreds of species throughout her career, but the human data was unlike anything in her files. Based on our observations and scans, humans appear to have evolved on what we would classify as an extreme death world. Their bone density is nearly 3 times that of most spacefaring species. Their muscle fiber composition suggests they can generate tremendous force with minimal effort. Most remarkably, their healing capabilities appear to function at an accelerated rate that would be considered miraculous by our medical standards. Ambassador Clickrix clicked her mandibles in agitation. If these capabilities are accurate, how did our initial surveys classify them as a non-threatening species? Dr. Xanthus displayed comparative data on the main screens. Our survey protocols are designed to identify technological capabilities and aggressive behavior patterns. We did not perform detailed biological analysis because the humans appeared to be within normal parameters for tool-using species. Their technology levels suggested they were still in early development phases. But their biology tells a different story, Council Leader Morthic observed. A species that evolves such capabilities does so in response to extreme environmental pressures. What kind of world produces beings like this? The answer came from the Council's Geological Survey team. Dr. Vorthik, a crystalline being similar to Morthic, but specialized in planetary analysis, activated detailed scans of Earth that had been conducted during the initial contact. The human homeworld exhibits characteristics that would make it uninhabitable for most Council species. Gravity levels that would crush beings from low-gravity worlds. Weather systems with destructive force equivalent to military bombardments. Seismic activity that regularly reshapes continents. Most significantly, the planet hosts an ecosystem where virtually every life form competes through violence and predation. The implications were becoming clear to everyone in the chamber. Humans had not simply evolved intelligence and tool use. They had evolved to survive and thrive in conditions that would kill most galactic species within hours. Ambassador Luxara of the peaceful Etherian species spoke with a voice like musical chimes. Council Leader, are we certain that these humans are not aware of their capabilities? Their behavior during contact has been remarkably peaceful and cooperative. Commander Xethrix consulted his datapad before responding. Our observations suggest they consider their physical abilities to be completely normal. When they demonstrated feats that astounded our strongest warriors, they appeared confused by our reactions. The young human who injured our cadet was genuinely distressed by the accident and seemed unaware that he was capable of causing such harm. This revelation sent another wave of concern through the chamber. A species with such devastating capabilities, who did not realize their own strength, was potentially even more dangerous than aggressive conquerors. The debate continued for hours as representatives from across the galaxy tried to understand what humanity represented. Some species argued for quarantine, suggesting that humans should be contained to their own system for the safety of galactic civilization. Others proposed immediate military intervention before the humans developed technology that could match their biological capabilities. But it was the arrival of Admiral Lisa Chun and the human diplomatic vessel New Horizon that changed everything. Admiral Chun was Jake Morrison's sister and had been selected to lead humanity's first formal diplomatic mission to the Council. She was an experienced naval officer with a reputation for competence and integrity. Her ship carried a full delegation of human representatives, scientists, and cultural specialists. The New Horizon was humanity's finest diplomatic vessel, designed to make a positive impression on alien civilizations. It was sleek and elegant. By human standards, though primitive compared to Council technology. The ship requested permission to dock at Nexus Station, completely unaware of the emergency session taking place. Council leader Morthic made a decision that would be debated by historians for centuries. Instead of denying the humans access or delaying their arrival, he chose to invite them to address the Council directly. If they were going to make decisions about humanity's future, they needed to understand the species they were dealing with. Admiral Chun entered the Council chamber with her delegation, completely unaware of the crisis their species had caused. She wore her dress uniform and carried herself with the dignity appropriate for such a historic occasion. Her team included scientists, diplomats, and cultural representatives who had spent months preparing for this moment. Honorable counselors, Admiral Chun began. Humanity is grateful for the opportunity to address this distinguished assembly. We come before you with respect and hope, seeking to contribute to the peace and prosperity of galactic civilization. The speech she had prepared was eloquent and thoughtful, covering humanity's values, achievements, and aspirations for the future. She spoke about their commitment to peaceful exploration and their desire to learn from the wisdom of older civilizations, but the Council was not listening to her words. They were studying her movements, analyzing her physical structure, and calculating the potential threat she represented. Admiral Chun was a relatively small human by her species standards, but she moved with the controlled grace of someone accustomed to command authority. Council leader Morthic decided to test their theories about human capabilities. Admiral Chun, we would be honored if you could demonstrate some aspects of human culture and technology for our education. The request seemed reasonable to the human delegation. Admiral Chun had brought samples of human art, music, and literature, as well as examples of their most advanced technologies. She was pleased to have the opportunity to share humanity's achievements with the galaxy's leaders. The demonstration began normally enough. Admiral Chun presented human artistic works that were received with polite interest by the alien audience. She played recordings of human music that some species found beautiful, while others found incomprehensible. The cultural exchange was proceeding exactly as she had hoped. The situation changed when Admiral Chun was asked to demonstrate human technology. 6 months had passed since the establishment of the Human Studies Institute, and the galaxy had quietly transformed itself around the reality of human existence. The changes were subtle but comprehensive, touching every aspect of interstellar civilization in ways that humans could never have imagined. Dr. Zenthis stood in her private laboratory aboard the research station orbiting Nexus, reviewing the latest reports from human space. The data streams showed routine patrol activities, peaceful exploration missions, and normal civilian traffic. To human observers, everything appeared perfectly normal. But hidden within the routine communications were coded warnings, emergency protocols, and carefully coordinated efforts to prevent accidental contact situations. The Human Non-Harm Protocol had become the most important security directive in galactic history. Every spacefaring species had received detailed instructions about interaction procedures, emergency response plans, and communication protocols designed to minimize the risk of incidents involving human personnel. The irony was not lost on Dr. Zenthis that the protocol was not designed to protect humans from harm, but to protect everyone else from the consequences of harming humans accidentally. The galaxy had learned to fear not human aggression, but human retaliation for perceived attacks on their people. Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the Earth defense ship Liberty, completely unaware that his routine patrol mission was being monitored by alien intelligence networks throughout the sector. He was reviewing reports from the exploration teams when Lieutenant Sam Martinez detected unusual energy signatures from a nearby system. Captain, we are receiving a distress signal from civilian vessels under attack by unknown hostiles. Martinez reported with professional calm. Jake felt the familiar surge of adrenaline that came with emergency situations. The Liberty was designed for exactly this kind of rescue mission, and his crew had trained extensively for hostile encounters. Set course for the distress signal at maximum speed, Jake ordered. Communications, notify Sector Command that we are responding to a civilian emergency. What Jake could not know was that his transmission had triggered emergency alerts throughout the Galactic Intelligence Network. Automated systems were calculating the probability of human casualties and preparing contingency plans for every possible outcome. The attacking vessels were Kithara raiders, a species known for their aggressive expansion and disregard for Council law. They had targeted a civilian transport convoy carrying refugees from a recent natural disaster. The convoy's escorts were overwhelmed and calling for assistance from any nearby vessels. Lieutenant Ben Carter led the Liberty's boarding team as they prepared for combat operations. Ben was an experienced officer who had served in hostile environments throughout his career, but he had never fought against alien opponents before. His team consisted of 12 Marines armed with standard Earth military equipment. The Kithara raiders were expecting easy prey when they detected the approaching human vessel. Their intelligence reports classified humans as a weak species with primitive technology, barely worth considering as a threat. The raider commander ordered his ships to ignore the human vessel and continue their attack on the refugee convoy. But Captain Morrison had no intention of allowing the attack to continue. The Liberty moved between the raiders and the civilian vessels, using its hull to shield the refugees from enemy fire. Hostile vessels, this is Captain Morrison of the Earth Defense Ship Liberty. Cease your attack on the civilian convoy immediately or face the consequences. The Kithara commander responded with contempt and opened fire on the Liberty with weapons designed to penetrate the armor plating of Council warships. The energy beams struck the human vessel with enough force to vaporize most spacecraft. Jake watched the weapon's fire impact his ship's hull and waited for damage reports. After several seconds, he realized that no damage reports were coming. Lieutenant Martinez, what is our status? Jake asked. Martinez checked his instruments with confusion. Captain, the enemy weapons appear to have had no significant effect on our hull plating. Engineering reports minor surface scoring, but no structural damage. The Kithara raiders fired again with increased power, but the results were the same. Their most advanced weapons were barely scratching the surface of human military armor, which had been designed to withstand the harsh conditions of Earth's hostile environment. Jake made a decision that would change galactic warfare forever. Launch boarding pods. We are going to disable those raider ships and rescue any prisoners they may have taken. Lieutenant Ben Carter's boarding team entered the Kithara vessel through their emergency airlocks. The raiders were waiting for them with weapons drawn, prepared to repel what they expected to be a desperate assault by inferior beings. The first exchange of gunfire revealed the true scale of the mismatch. Kithara energy weapons that could melt through starship hulls barely penetrated the human standard-issue body armor. Meanwhile, human projectile weapons designed for Earth's dangerous wildlife proved devastatingly effective against alien opponents. But the real shock came when the Kithara commander ordered close combat engagement. His warriors were trained in hand-to-hand fighting techniques that had proven effective against dozens of species throughout the galaxy. Ben Carter found himself face-to-face with a Kithara warrior, armed with energy blades and wearing powered armor that enhanced strength and speed. The alien attacked with techniques refined through centuries of combat experience. Ben blocked the energy blade with his armored forearm and struck back with what he intended to be a restraining blow. His fist connected with the alien's armored chest plate and punched completely through the powered armor. As if it were made of thin plastic dot, the Cathara warrior collapsed immediately, his armor system sparking and failing from the massive impact damage. Ben stared at his fist in shock, realizing that he had accidentally killed an opponent while trying to subdue him. Similar scenes were playing out throughout the raider vessel as human marines encountered alien opponents. Every attempt at non-lethal force resulted in devastating injuries to the aliens. Weapons that should have stunned or disabled instead caused critical damage. Physical restraint techniques that were considered gentle by human standards broke alien bones and damaged internal organs. Within minutes, the entire Cathara raiding party had been neutralized. Some were dead, others were critically injured, and the few survivors were begging for mercy in languages that the human translators could barely process. Ben activated his communication system to report to Captain Morrison. "Captain, we have secured the raider vessel, but we have a serious problem. Our standard engagement procedures appear to have caused excessive casualties among the hostile forces." Jake felt sick as he received the casualty reports. His crew had followed proper military protocols, but the results were far more devastating than anyone had anticipated. The humans had not intended to slaughter their opponents, but the physical mismatch had made restraint nearly impossible. "Secure any survivors and provide medical assistance," Jake ordered. "We need to understand what went wrong here." Dr. Ryan Phillips worked frantically to save the wounded Cathara using human medical techniques adapted for alien physiology. But the injuries were severe, and many of the raiders died despite his efforts to help them. The surviving Cathara were terrified beyond rational thought. They had encountered humans in combat and witnessed capabilities that exceeded their worst nightmares about mythical Death World species. When Ben Carter approached them to check on their condition, they cowered and begged for their lives. "Please, do not kill us," the Cathara commander whispered through his damaged translator. "We did not know you were Deathworlders. We thought you were weak like the other soft species." Ben was confused by the alien's reaction. "We are not going to kill you. We are trying to help treat your injuries." But the Cathara could not understand how beings capable of such devastating violence could speak of medical treatment and assistance. In their experience, species that possessed such combat capabilities were conquerors who showed no mercy to defeated enemies. The rescue of the refugee convoy was completed successfully, but the aftermath of the encounter sent shockwaves throughout the galactic community. Emergency communications networks carried news of the first human combat engagement, and the reports were more alarming than anyone had anticipated. Council leader Morthic received the initial reports within hours of the incident. The data confirmed every fear that the Human Studies Institute had been working to prevent. Humans in combat were not just dangerous, they were catastrophically effective at destroying any opposition they encountered. Dr. Zenthis was summoned to an emergency meeting with the Council's military advisors. The assembled generals and admirals represented the most advanced military forces in the galaxy, but they were struggling to understand the implications of human combat capabilities. "Dr. Zenthis," General Vorthik began, "our analysis of the engagement suggests that human military forces could potentially defeat any existing galactic defense network. Is this assessment accurate?" Dr. Zenthis reviewed the combat data with growing concern. "Based on our observations, human military equipment appears to be designed for combat conditions that exceed anything we have previously encountered." 1 year had passed since the Cathara incident, and the galaxy had completed its quiet transformation around humanity's existence. The changes were so subtle and comprehensive that most humans remained completely unaware of the elaborate systems that had been constructed to ensure their safety and happiness. Admiral Jake Morrison sat in his new office at Earth Defense Command, reviewing what appeared to be routine diplomatic communications from the Galactic Council. His promotion had come with expanded responsibilities for human-alien relations, and he was pleased by how smoothly everything seemed to be operating. The communications were filled with expressions of friendship and cooperation from dozens of alien species. Trade agreements were being signed at an unprecedented rate. Scientific exchange programs were expanding rapidly. Cultural festivals celebrating human achievements were being organized on worlds throughout the galaxy. What Jake could not see were the coded messages hidden within the diplomatic language. The careful coordination required to maintain the illusion of normal relations, and the massive resources being devoted to keeping humanity content and peaceful. Dr. Jennifer Walsh had been appointed as Earth's new Director of Alien Relations, after her predecessor retired early due to what he described as overwhelming stress from the complexity of interstellar diplomacy. Jennifer was an experienced diplomat who had spent years preparing for her role, but she was amazed by how accommodating and helpful all the alien species seemed to be. Every request from Earth was granted with enthusiasm. Every proposal for cooperation was accepted immediately. Every human concern was addressed with what appeared to be genuine care and attention. Jennifer attributed this remarkable cooperation to humanity's natural diplomatic charm and the universal appeal of human culture. She had no way of knowing that her success rate was the result of careful planning by teams of alien specialists who analyzed every human communication and crafted responses designed to maintain positive relations at all costs. The latest challenge for the galactic community came when 8-year-old Emma Morrison, Admiral Jake's daughter, was selected for a student exchange program with alien children from the peaceful Etherian species. The program was designed to promote cultural understanding between young beings from different worlds. Emma was excited about the opportunity to make friends with alien children and learn about life on other planets. She had inherited her father's curiosity and her mother's gentle nature, making her an ideal candidate for the exchange program. But the Etherian families who volunteered to host human children required extensive preparation and counseling. The Etherian species was known for their fragile physical structure and their peaceful, non-confrontational culture. The idea of hosting a human child, even a young one, was terrifying to parents who understood what humans were capable of. Dr. Zenthis personally supervised the preparation of the Etherian host families. The briefings covered proper interaction procedures, emergency protocols, and stress management techniques for dealing with the psychological pressure of caring for a being who could accidentally cause devastating damage while playing. Remember, Dr. Zenthis explained to the assembled Etherian parents, human children consider their strength levels to be completely normal. Emma Morrison will not understand that she is capable of breaking your furniture, damaging your homes, or injuring your children during normal play activities. You must remain calm and friendly while carefully managing every interaction to prevent accidents. The Etherian mother who would be hosting Emma, a gentle being named Lirale, asked the question that every parent was thinking. Dr. Zenthis, what should we do if the human child becomes upset or angry? Our children sometimes have emotional outbursts, but a human child could potentially destroy our entire home if she loses control. Dr. Zenthis consulted her datapad, which contained detailed psychological profiles of human children, developed by the galaxy's most advanced behavioral specialists. According to our research, Emma Morrison has a stable and gentle personality. However, if she does become distressed, your primary responsibility is to keep everyone safe while maintaining the appearance of normal hospitality. Signal for emergency assistance, but do not let the child realize that you consider her dangerous. The exchange program proceeded with elaborate safety measures disguised as normal cultural activities. Emma arrived on the Etherian homeworld with excitement and curiosity, eager to explore the beautiful crystal cities and meet her alien host family. Lirelai greeted Emma with carefully practiced warmth, hiding her nervousness behind a smile that she hoped appeared genuine. The Etherian home had been quietly reinforced with structural supports and furnished with items designed to withstand accidental damage from superhuman strength. Emma was delighted by the hospitality and the beautiful surroundings. The Etherian family treated her like honored royalty, anticipating her every need and ensuring that she was constantly entertained and happy. She interpreted their careful attention as a sign of how much they enjoyed having human visitors. First potential crisis occurred during a play session with Lirelai's daughter, a young Etherian named Christiana, who was the same age as Emma. The two children were playing with what the Etherians considered an indestructible toy, a crystalline puzzle that was designed to withstand the strongest forces their species could generate. Emma picked up the puzzle to examine it more closely and accidentally applied too much pressure while turning one of the pieces. The indestructible crystal cracked and broke into several fragments, leaving Emma holding the pieces with a shocked expression. "Oh no," Emma said, her eyes filling with tears. "I broke your special toy. I am so sorry, Christiana." The Etherian child looked at the broken puzzle with amazement rather than sadness. She had never seen anything break that particular toy before, and she was more fascinated than upset by what had happened. Lirelai reacted with the training she had received from Dr. Zenthis. "Do not worry about the toy, Emma. These things happen. During play, let me get you another one to enjoy." But Emma was genuinely distressed by the accident. Her parents had taught her to be careful with other people's belongings, and she felt terrible about breaking something that belonged to her new friend. "I should not have been so rough with it," Emma said, trying to hold back tears. "My parents always tell me to be gentle when I play with other children's toys." Christiana approached Emma and put her delicate hand on the human child's arm in a gesture of comfort. "Emma, it is fine. I have many toys, and I like playing with you more than playing with toys." The simple act of friendship between the two children nearly caused a diplomatic incident when Emma hugged Christiana to show her gratitude. Emma's human strength, even as a small child, was enough to crack two of Christiana's ribs and bruise her internal organs. Christiana collapsed with a soft cry of pain, and Lirelai activated the emergency alert system while rushing to help her daughter. Within minutes, the house was filled with Etherian medical personnel and council security specialists. Emma was horrified by what had happened. She tried to help Christiana, but the Etherian medical team gently moved her away from the injured child, while maintaining careful, friendly expressions. "Is she going to be okay?" Emma asked, her voice shaking with concern. "I just wanted to give her a hug, to say thank you for being so nice about the broken toy." Dr. Zenthis arrived within the hour, accompanied by a team of specialists trained in human psychology and crisis management. Their primary mission was to ensure that Emma did not realize the true extent of the damage she had caused or understand that her normal childhood behavior was considered deadly by galactic standards. "Emma," Dr. Zenthis said gently, "Christiana is going to be fine, but she needs some special medical treatment because Etherian children are different from human children. She is not hurt because of anything you did wrong." The explanation was carefully crafted to be truthful while avoiding any suggestion that Emma was dangerous or that her behavior was abnormal. The psychological specialists had determined that human children who believed they were hurting their friends could develop severe emotional problems that might make them unpredictable as adults. Christiana was rushed to the most advanced medical facility in the galaxy, where teams of specialists worked to repair the damage caused by a gentle hug from a human child. The medical costs were covered by the Council Emergency Fund, and her recovery was given the highest priority by the alien medical community. Meanwhile, Emma was told that Christiana had caught a mild illness that was common among Etherian children. and that she would need to rest for a few days before they could play together again. Emma accepted this explanation and spent the rest of her visit creating get-well cards and small gifts to help her friend feel better. The incident report was classified at the highest levels of council security. Dr. Zenthis added new protocols to the Human Studies Institute guidelines, and emergency response teams were placed on standby for any future interactions between human children and alien species. But the most significant impact of the incident was how it affected the broader understanding of human nature throughout the galaxy.